The massive space station called Nexus 7 floated in the darkness between stars. It was bigger than most cities, with bright lights covering its surface like jewels. Ships from dozens of different alien worlds came and went from its many docking bays. The station was the most important place in the galaxy for trade and meetings between different species. Dr. Kang. Jiho pressed his face against the small window of the human ship called Sol Dawn. He had never seen anything so amazing in his life. The station was beautiful, with towers that twisted like metal trees and bridges that sparkled with energy. Other ships moved around it like fish swimming in an ocean of stars. "Look at that," said Commander Yoon Minji as she joined him at the window. "Hard to believe we're really here." Jiho nodded. He was 34 years old and had spent most of his life studying old things that dead civilizations had left behind. Now he was going to meet living aliens for the first time. His hand shook a little with excitement and fear. "Remember what they told us back on Earth," Minji said. "We need to make a good first impression. Humanity is counting on us." The Sol Dawn was not a pretty ship. It looked like a big metal box with engines stuck on the back. The hull was covered in thick armor plates that had been welded together. Burn marks from old battles covered parts of the ship. Next to the sleek alien vessels around the station, it looked rough and ugly. Their ship moved slowly toward one of the docking bays. As they got closer, Jiho could see alien ships everywhere. Some looked like giant flowers made of crystal. Others were smooth and round like pearls. A few seemed to be made of light itself, glowing and shifting colors as they moved. "Incoming message," said the ship's computer. A voice spoke in perfect English, though it sounded strange. "Human vessel Sol Dawn, you are cleared for docking bay 77 Alpha. Please follow the guidelights and maintain slow speed." Captain Nam Hyesu, who was 41 years old and had been flying ships for 20 years, carefully moved their vessel into the docking bay. The bay was huge, big enough to hold 50 ships like theirs. As they landed, Jiho saw aliens watching from behind thick glass windows. "They're staring at us," Minji said. "Can you blame them?" Jiho replied. "We probably look as strange to them as they do to us." But as they prepared to leave the ship, Jiho noticed something that made him uncomfortable. The aliens weren't just staring with curiosity. Some of them were pointing at their ship and seemed to be laughing. Others shook their heads as if they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The airlock opened with a hiss. The first thing that hit them was the smell. Not bad, just different. The air tasted like metal and ozone with hints of things Jiho couldn't identify. The gravity felt normal, which was good news. A group of aliens waited for them in the docking bay. The leader was tall and made of what looked like living crystal. Its body sparkled with inner light, and when it moved, it made soft chiming sounds like wind bells. "Welcome to Nexus 7, the crystal being said. Its voice came from somewhere inside its body. "I am Admiral Vexar of the Hegemony Fleet. We have been waiting to meet you." Jiho stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you, Admiral. I am Dr. Kang Jiho, and this is Commander Yoon Minji. We bring greetings from Earth and all humanity." Admiral Vexar's crystal body flashed with different colors. Jiho hoped this was a good sign and not the alien version of laughter. "Your ship is interesting," said another alien. This one looked like a giant squid with too many arms and 3 eyes that moved independently of each other. "Very unpractical." The way it said practical made Jiho think it really meant primitive or ugly. He kept his face calm and smiled. "Humans believe in building things that work well," he said. Of course, Admiral Vexar said, and his body flashed again. "We understand that different species develop at different rates. There is no shame in being newer to space travel." As they walked through the station, more aliens stopped to stare at the humans. Jiho heard whispers and what sounded like alien laughter. Some aliens took pictures with devices that looked nothing like human cameras. The main corridor of the station was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Jiho couldn't see the top. Shops and restaurants lined the walls, selling things from across the galaxy. Strange music filled the air, and holographic signs advertised goods in languages that hurt his eyes to look at. "Your species is very young in galactic terms," said Scholar Thais, the squid-like alien who was walking beside them. "How long have you been traveling between stars?" "Not very long," Jiho admitted. "We've only been leaving our solar system for a few decades." "Decades?" Scholar This's 3 eyes widened. "Remarkable that you made it this far so quickly. Most species take centuries to develop reliable, faster-than-light travel." They reached a large circular room where dozens of aliens sat around a curved table. This was the Galactic Council, where representatives from every known civilization met to discuss important matters. Admiral Vexar gestured for the humans to stand in the center of the room. "Fellow beings," he announced, "I present the delegation from the planet Earth and the species called humans." The room fell silent. Hundreds of alien eyes in all shapes and colors stared at the three humans. Jiho felt very small and very far from home. "They are here to request membership in our Galactic Council," Admiral Vexar continued. "As is our custom, we must evaluate their technological and cultural development to determine their readiness." A large alien that looked like a walking tree spoke up. "Have you examined their vessel, Admiral?" "Initial scans have been completed," Admiral Vexar said. His crystal body dimmed slightly. "The ship appears to use basic propulsion systems and simple materials. Nothing that would indicate advanced technological development." Murmurs spread around the room. Some aliens made sounds that Jiho was sure were laughter. "Perhaps," said a floating alien that looked like a jellyfish made of light. "We could offer them a junior membership. They could observe and learn from more advanced species." "An excellent suggestion," Admiral Vexar agreed. "Humans, would you accept a probationary status while you continued to develop your civilization?" Jiho felt his face grow hot. They were being treated like children asking to sit at the adult table. Beside him, he could feel Minji's anger like heat from a fire. "We appreciate your offer," Jiho said carefully, "but perhaps you should learn more about us before making such decisions." "Of course," Admiral Vexar said, though his tone suggested he was just being polite. "We will conduct a full technological assessment of your vessel. I'm sure it will be educational for everyone." As the meeting ended and the aliens began to leave, Jiho heard more whispers and laughter. One alien said to another, "Did you see that ship? I've seen cargo haulers with better design." "Poor things," another replied. "They probably think they're quite advanced." Commander Minji stepped closer to Jiho. "They have no idea what they're dealing with," she whispered. Jiho nodded. The aliens thought they understood humanity based on the appearance of one ship. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Admiral Vexar approached them as the room emptied. "We will begin our technical assessment tomorrow," he said. "I hope you don't mind if our scientists examine your vessel thoroughly. It's standard procedure for all new species." "We don't mind at all," Jiho said with a smile. "Please examine everything you want. We have nothing to hide." As they were escorted to their guest quarters, Jiho couldn't help but smile. The aliens thought they were so much smarter and more advanced. Tomorrow they would start to learn the truth about humanity. Tomorrow everything would change. The next morning came quickly aboard Nexus 7. The station never really slept, with ships coming and going at all hours. Alien traders worked through what humans would call night, and the corridors always buzzed with activity. Dr. Kang Jiho woke up in his small guest room and looked out the window at the Sol dawn. Even from here, he could see alien scientists walking around their ship with strange scanning devices. They moved slowly and carefully, like doctors examining a sick patient. "They started early," said Commander Yoon Minji when she met him for breakfast. The station's food court served meals from dozens of worlds, but they had stuck to simple items that looked safe to eat. "Good," Jiho said. "The sooner they start looking, the sooner they'll understand." Chief Engineer Park Dong-hyun joined them at their table. He was 41 years old and had helped design the Sol Dawn back on Earth. His hands were always dirty from working with machines, and he had a habit of fixing things even when they weren't broken. "I watched them scanning our ship all morning," Dong-hyun said. "They're being very careful not to damage anything. Almost respectful." "That's because they think we're primitive," Minji said. "They're treating our ship like it's made of paper." Dong-hyun laughed. "Let them think that. They'll learn soon enough." Across the food court, Jiho saw Analyst Krill, an insect-like alien with 4 arms and compound eyes that sparkled like jewels. Krill was the station's expert on alien technology, and he had been assigned to study the human ship. Krill approached their table, walking on 6 thin legs. His movements were quick and jerky like a spider. "Good morning, humans," Krill said in a voice that sounded like clicking metal. "I hope you slept well." "Very well, thank you," Jiho replied. "How are your studies of our ship going?" Krill's compound eyes shifted colors from blue to yellow. "Most interesting. Your vessel shows some unusual energy readings." "Unusual how?" Dong-hyun asked, though he kept his voice casual. The power output seems higher than expected, Krill said. Much higher. Our scanners show energy levels that don't match the apparent size of your engines. Donghyun shrugged. Humans are good at making efficient machines. Yes, but Krill paused, his eyes shifting to green. The readings suggest your ship could power a small city. That seems excessive for a simple transport vessel. We like to have plenty of backup power, Donghyun said. You never know when you might need it. After breakfast, Scholar Thys found them in the corridor. The squid-like alien seemed excited, his tentacles moving in complex patterns. Dr. Jiho, Scholar Thys said, I would very much like to learn about human culture and history. Would you be willing to give a presentation to our academic council? I'd be honored, Jiho replied. They gathered in a smaller conference room filled with alien scholars and scientists. Jiho stood at the front looking out at dozens of strange faces. Some had eyes, others had sensors that glowed with inner light. A few didn't seem to have faces at all. Humans have been on Earth for about 300,000 years, Jiho began. For most of that time, we lived in small groups and used simple tools. He showed them pictures of early human cave paintings and stone tools. The aliens nodded politely, but he could see they weren't impressed. What makes humans different, Jiho continued, is how we solve problems. When we face a challenge, we don't always look for the most elegant solution. We look for solutions that work. He showed them pictures of human cities with their mix of old and new buildings. We build on top of what came before. We keep old systems working while we develop new ones. We call this adaptability. Scholar Thys raised a tentacle. This seems inefficient. Why not simply replace old systems with better ones? Because sometimes the old ways work better than expected, Jiho said. And sometimes new ways fail. Humans always plan for failure. This seemed to confuse the aliens. Several of them made sounds that might have been questions or comments in their own languages. We also believe in redundancy, Jiho continued. If one system fails, we have backups. If the backups fail, we have backups for the backups. Wasteful, said an alien that looked like a floating crystal. Proper engineering eliminates the possibility of failure. Does it? Jiho asked. What happens when the impossible occurs? Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Commander Minji was being given a tour of the alien military facilities. Her guide was Captain Zarion, a tall alien with metal skin and glowing red eyes. Our defensive systems are quite advanced, Captain Zarion said proudly. We can detect hostile ships from several light years away. Minji nodded and asked polite questions, but she was really studying their weapons and shields. The alien technology was impressive, but it seemed designed for fighting other aliens who followed the same rules of warfare. Your ships are very specialized, she observed. Of course, Captain Zarion replied. Each vessel is designed for a specific purpose. Scouts for reconnaissance, fighters for combat, carriers for support. Maximum efficiency. What if a scout needs to fight? Minji asked. Captain Zarion looked confused. Why would a scout fight? That's what fighters are for. But what if the fighters aren't there? Then the scout would retreat and call for support, Captain Zarion said, as if this was obvious. Minji made mental notes. The aliens had powerful weapons and strong defenses, but they seemed to lack flexibility. Each ship could only do one job well. Back in the academic presentation, Chief Engineer Donghyun had joined Jiho to talk about human engineering. Human machines are built to work in bad conditions, Donghyun explained. We design them to function even when parts break or power fails. He showed them diagrams of human spacecraft systems. Every critical system has at least 3 backups. Every component can be repaired with basic tools. Every process can be done manually if the computers fail. This creates unnecessary complexity, said analyst Krill. Our systems are designed not to fail in the first place. That's good, Donghyun said. But what happens when they do fail anyway? They don't, Krill insisted. Everything fails eventually, Donghyun replied. Humans plan for that day. Dr. Lim Soo-young, who had been quiet until now, stood up. She was 27 years old and one of the brightest physicists on Earth. She had been invited to observe the presentation, and her presence made some of the alien scientists uncomfortable. May I add something? Soo-young asked. Of course, Scholar Thys said. Humans don't just plan for failure, she said. We plan for the unknown. We build machines that can handle problems we haven't thought of yet. She gestured to a diagram of the Sol Dawn's power systems. Our ship doesn't just have backup power. It has adaptive power distribution that can reroute energy to any system that needs it, in ways the original designers never imagined. The aliens looked at the diagram more carefully. Several of them made surprised sounds. This level of flexibility requires enormous computational power, said High Researcher Morth, a being made of flowing gas contained in a transparent suit. Yes, Su-Young agreed, it does. But your computers appear to be quite basic, Analyst Krill said. Our scans show simple processing units, nothing like what would be needed for such complex calculations. Su-Young smiled. Appearances can be deceiving. As the presentation ended, the aliens gathered in small groups to discuss what they had heard. Jiho could see confusion on their faces, and he noticed they kept looking at technical diagrams with puzzled expressions. Interesting species, Scholar Theiss said to Jiho as the room emptied. Very unconventional in their thinking. We try to be practical, Jiho replied. Yes, but some of your claims seem ambitious for a young civilization. Adaptive power systems, redundant backups, modular design. These are concepts that most species develop only after centuries of spaceflight. Maybe we had good teachers, Jiho said. Who taught you? Scholar Theiss asked, his three eyes focusing intently on Jiho. Necessity, Jiho replied. Earth is not an easy world to live on. We learned to adapt or die. Later that evening, Analyst Krill sent an urgent message to Admiral Vexar. The message was marked as Priority 1, which meant it needed immediate attention. Admiral Vexar read the report in his private chambers. The energy readings from the human ship were indeed unusual. Much more unusual than they had first appeared. The ship's power output was not just high, it was impossibly high for a vessel of its size. The hull, which appeared to be simple metal, was showing strange properties under deep scanning. And the humans themselves were proving to be far more knowledgeable than expected. Admiral Vexar decided he needed to see the human ship for himself. Tomorrow he would conduct a personal inspection. He was sure there was a simple explanation for the unusual readings. He was also sure that the humans, despite their clever words, were still a young and primitive species who had simply gotten lucky with a few discoveries. Admiral Vexar was wrong on both counts. But he wouldn't learn that until it was too late to change his mind about humanity. As the station settled into its night cycle, the Sol Dawn sat quietly in its docking bay. To any observer, it looked like exactly what it appeared to be. A rough, ugly ship built by a species that was new to space travel. But deep inside the ship, systems hummed with power that the aliens couldn't begin to understand. And in his quarters, Chief Engineer Donghyun smiled as he read the reports of alien confusion. The aliens were just beginning to scratch the surface of human technology. Admiral Vexar stood outside the Sol Dawn's docking bay at dawn, or what passed for dawn on a space station. His crystal body glowed brighter than usual, which meant he was either excited or worried. Today he felt both. The reports from his scientists had been strange. Energy readings that didn't make sense. Materials that seemed simple but behaved in complex ways. And the humans themselves, who spoke about technology as if they understood things that should have taken centuries to develop. Are you ready, Admiral? Asked High Researcher Morth. The gaseous being floated beside him in its containment suit, eager to examine the human vessel up close. Let's find out what these humans are really capable of, Admiral Vexar replied. They entered the docking bay where the Sol Dawn waited. In the bright lights of the station, the ship looked even more crude than before. Welded metal plates covered the hull like patches on old clothing. Burn marks from atmospheric entry scarred the surface. The engines were massive and clunky, nothing like the elegant propulsion systems used by advanced civilizations. But the energy readings told a different story. The power signature is coming from here, said Technician Lee Young-ho, pointing to what looked like a simple reactor housing. The young human was 25 years old and had volunteered to give the aliens a technical tour of their ship. This appears to be a basic fusion reactor, High Researcher Morth observed, studying the readings on his scanner. But the energy output is unusual. We've made some improvements to the standard design, Young-ho said with a shrug. What kind of improvements? Asked Analyst Krill, his forearms working multiple scanning devices at once. Just better efficiency, Young-ho replied. We don't like to waste energy. Admiral Vexar studied the reactor housing more carefully. It looked like something a first-year engineering student might build. simple, functional, and ugly. But his scanners showed energy levels that should have required a reactor 10 times larger. "How much power does this produce?" he asked. "About what we need," Young-Ho said. "That's not an answer," Admiral Vexar pressed. Young-Ho smiled. "Sorry, military security, you understand? But I can tell you it's enough to run all our systems with plenty left over." They moved deeper into the ship. The corridors were narrow and lined with pipes and cables that were clearly visible. Most advanced ships hid their internal systems behind smooth walls, but the humans seemed to put everything out in the open. "Why don't you conceal your infrastructure?" asked High Researcher Morth. "Why would we?" Young-Ho replied. "If something breaks, we want to be able to fix it quickly. Hidden systems are hard to repair." They reached the main computer core, and Admiral Vexar stopped in surprise. The human computers looked ancient compared to alien technology. Large boxes with blinking lights and physical switches covered the walls. "These are your computers?" Analyst Krill asked, unable to hide his disappointment. "Some of them," Young-Ho said. "We use different types for different jobs. But they appear to be so primitive," High Researcher Morth said. "How do you perform complex calculations with such simple processors?" "We network them together," Young-Ho explained. "Thousands of simple processors working together can solve problems that single complex processors can't handle." "That's actually quite clever," Admiral Vexar admitted. "But surely this limits your computational abilities." "Not really," Young-Ho said. "We can add more processors whenever we need more power, and if some of them fail, the others keep working." Dr. Lim Soo-young joined them in the computer core. She had been working in another part of the ship, checking systems and making sure everything was ready for the alien inspection. "How are our guests enjoying the tour?" she asked Young-Ho. "They have lots of questions about our technology," he replied. "I imagine they do," Soo-young said with a smile. "Admiral Vexar, I understand you're interested in our power systems." "Very interested," Admiral Vexar replied. "Your energy output seems remarkable for such a compact reactor." "We've learned a lot about energy production over the years," Soo-young said. "Would you like me to explain some of our techniques?" Admiral Vexar nodded eagerly. Any insight into human technology would help him understand how advanced they really were. Soo-young led them to a conference room where she activated a holographic display. Images of complex equations filled the air, along with diagrams of atomic structures. "Human energy technology is based on several principles," she began. "First, we learn to control fusion reactions at the quantum level. This allows us to extract much more energy from the same amount of fuel." The aliens studied the equations carefully. High Researcher Morth made excited sounds as he recognized some of the mathematical concepts. "These are quantum field manipulations," he said. "But they require enormous precision. How do you maintain such exact control?" "Practice," Soo-young said simply. "We've been working with quantum mechanics for decades." "Decades?" Analyst Krill's compound eyes changed color rapidly. "Most species require centuries to develop practical quantum applications. Humans are fast learners," Soo-young replied. She changed the display to show another set of diagrams. "We also use matter-antimatter reactions for high-energy applications." The room fell silent. Admiral Vexar's crystal body dimmed significantly. "Did you say antimatter?" he asked quietly. "Yes," Soo-young confirmed. "It's very efficient for spacecraft propulsion and high-power systems. But antimatter is incredibly dangerous," High Researcher Morth said. "Even advanced civilizations use it only in carefully controlled laboratory conditions." "It can be dangerous if you don't handle it properly," Soo-young agreed. "But with the right safety systems, it's quite safe." "You use antimatter in your ship?" Admiral Vexar asked, and his voice had a strange quality that Soo-young didn't recognize as fear. "Just for emergency power," she said. "And for the really energy-intensive systems." "What systems require that much energy?" Analyst Krill asked. Soo-young paused as if deciding how much to reveal. "Well, the defensive shields draw quite a bit of power, and the faster-than-light drive needs substantial energy for dimensional folding." The aliens looked at each other with expressions that humans couldn't read, but which clearly indicated shock and disbelief. "Dimensional folding?" High Researcher Morth repeated. "You mean actual space-time manipulation? How else would you travel faster than light?" Soo-young asked, genuinely curious. "We use dimensional tunneling," Admiral Vexar said, "creating temporary passages through subspace. But folding space itself requires energy levels beyond the capabilities of most civilizations. It's not that hard once you understand the mathematics, Su-Yung said. The tricky part is making sure you fold space in the right direction. Otherwise, you might end up inside a star or something. Captain Nam Haisu entered the conference room looking calm and professional as always. She was 38 years old and had been commanding ships for 15 years. But this was her first time dealing with aliens. I hope our guests are finding the tour educational, she said. Very much so, Admiral Vexar replied, though his tone was strained. Your Dr. Su-Yung has been explaining your energy technologies. Ah, good, Captain Nam said. Su-Yung is one of our best physicists. She helped design many of the Sol Dawn systems. Captain, High Researcher Morth said carefully, your ship appears to be equipped with technologies that should be beyond the capabilities of a young civilization. How do you explain this? Captain Nam considered the question. I suppose different species develop in different ways. Humans have always been good at solving practical problems. But antimatter containment, quantum fusion, dimensional manipulation, these are extremely advanced technologies, Analyst Krill insisted, are they? Captain Nam asked. They seem fairly straightforward to us. Admiral Vexar felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's temperature. Either the humans were lying about their technological capabilities, or they had developed in ways that defied everything he understood about galactic civilization. Captain Nam, he said slowly, what exactly is the Sol Dawn's purpose? It's a diplomatic vessel, she replied. Built specifically for first contact situations like this one. This is your most advanced ship? High Researcher Morth asked hopefully. Captain Nam laughed. Oh no, the Sol Dawn is actually one of our older designs. We built it using proven, reliable technology that we knew would work well for a long journey. The aliens exchanged glances again. If this was old, reliable technology, what did their newest ships look like? How old is this design? Admiral Vexar asked. About 20 years, Captain Nam said. We've learned a lot since then, but this ship has served us well. Technician Young-Ho spoke up. Captain, should I show them the adaptive systems demonstration? I think that would be appropriate, Captain Nam agreed. Young-Ho led them to another part of the ship where he activated a control panel. Lights and displays began changing all around them as systems reconfigured themselves. The Sol Dawn can adapt to different situations, he explained. If we need more power for shields, the system automatically reduces power to non-essential systems. If we lose main engines, backup systems engage and reconfigure the power grid. This happens automatically, Analyst Krill asked. Yes, Young-Ho said. The ship thinks for itself and makes decisions based on current conditions. But what if it makes the wrong decision? High Researcher Morth asked. Then we override. Dr. Cho Minsik arrived on Nexus 7 3 days after the Sol Dawn's technical inspection began. He was 52 years old, had gray hair and tired eyes, and looked like any university professor from Earth. What the aliens didn't know was that he was one of humanity's leading experts in dimensional mechanics and space-time manipulation. He came because Admiral Vexar had specifically requested that Earth send someone who could explain the unusual spatial distortions their sensors had detected around the human ship. Thank you for coming. Dr. Cho, Admiral Vexar said as they met in the station's main conference room. We hope you can help us understand some anomalies we've discovered. I'll do my best, Minsik replied with a friendly smile. What exactly are you seeing? High Researcher Morth activated a holographic display showing sensor readings from around the Sol Dawn. Strange energy patterns twisted through the space near the ship, creating ripples in the fabric of reality itself. These distortions appear when your ship prepares for departure, Analyst Krill explained. They suggest some form of space-time manipulation, but the energy requirements should be enormous. Minsik studied the readings carefully. I see what's happening. Yes, those are dimensional fold preparations. Dimensional folding, Admiral Vexar repeated. Your Dr. Su-Yung mentioned this before. Can you explain how it works? It's actually quite simple in principle, Minsik said, settling into his chair. Space and time are like a piece of fabric. If you want to travel a long distance quickly, instead of moving across the fabric, you fold it so your starting point and destination touch each other. He gestured with his hands, bringing his palms together. Then you step across the fold and unfold the space behind you, much faster than conventional travel. The alien stared at him in silence. Finally, High Researcher Morth spoke. Dr. Cho, with respect, dimensional folding requires energy levels equivalent to the output of a small star. The mathematical requirements alone should be beyond any single ship's computational abilities. Well, yes, Minsick agreed. If you try to fold large sections of space, we learned early on that it's much more efficient to fold smaller regions around the ship itself. But the precision required, Analyst Krill began, is considerable, Minsick finished. That's why we developed quantum-linked processing systems. Multiple computers sharing calculations across dimensional boundaries. Very stable and much faster than traditional processing. Admiral Vexar felt his crystal body grow cold. You're saying that your ship can manipulate space-time as a matter of routine? Oh yes, Minsick said cheerfully. All of our ships can do faster than light travel. The Sol Dawn isn't even very fast compared to our newer vessels. It can only manage about 1,000 times the speed of light. 1,000 times. High Researcher Morth's gaseous form began to swirl faster inside his containment suit. In a straight line, Minsick clarified. If we need to change direction frequently, we slow down to maybe 500 or 600 times light speed for safety. General Zenth, the military commander of the Combined Defense Forces, had been listening quietly until now. He was a large armored being with multiple arms and what appeared to be weapons built into his body. Dr. Cho, General Zenth said carefully, are you saying that your diplomatic vessel has faster-than-light capabilities that exceed those of our military ships? I wouldn't know, Minsick replied honestly. How fast are your military ships? Our fastest scout ships can achieve approximately 50 times the speed of light, General Zenth said. Oh, Minsick said, looking slightly embarrassed. Well, different species develop different technologies, I suppose. Indeed, General Zenth said grimly. Tell me, what defensive capabilities does your diplomatic vessel possess? The Sol Dawn. Minsick thought for a moment. Standard diplomatic protection, I believe. Deflector shields, electronic countermeasures, basic armor. Nothing too sophisticated. How basic is basic? Admiral Vexar asked. Well, it can withstand direct nuclear detonations, high-energy beam weapons, kinetic bombardment, that sort of thing. Standard threats that a diplomatic ship might encounter. The room fell completely silent. Several aliens made sounds that their translation devices couldn't convert into human language. Dr. Cho, General Zenth said very quietly, our most powerful military weapons are high-energy beam systems. Are you saying your diplomatic vessel could withstand direct fire from our battle fleet? Minsick looked genuinely surprised. Are you planning to attack us? Because that would be a violation of diplomatic protocols. No, Admiral Vexar said quickly. The General is just trying to understand your capabilities. Oh, good, Minsick said with relief. To answer your question, General, I really don't know how your weapons compare to ours. The Sol Dawn's shields are designed to protect against piracy and minor conflicts, not major military engagements. What would you consider a major military engagement? General Zenth asked. Oh, fleet actions involving hundreds of ships, planet-cracking weapons, dimensional bombs, that sort of thing, Minsick said casually. Ambassador Kim Ji-won chose that moment to enter the conference room. She was 45 years old, had been a diplomat for 20 years, and was very good at reading the mood of a room. Right now, the mood seemed to be shocked terror. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important, she said. Not at all, Admiral Vexar replied, though his voice sounded strained. Dr. Cho was just explaining some of humanity's technological capabilities. Ah, Ambassador Kim said with a knowing smile. I hope he's not boring you with too many technical details. Not at all, High Researcher Morth said weakly. Very educational. Ambassador Kim took a seat at the table. I understand you've been studying our ship quite thoroughly. I hope you found it satisfactory. More than satisfactory, Admiral Vexar said. Your technology is quite impressive. Thank you, Ambassador Kim replied. Though I should mention that the Sol Dawn is one of our older designs. We've advanced considerably since it was built. Dr. Cho nodded. Oh yes, the new ships are remarkable. Much faster, better protected, more efficient. The engineering teams back on Earth have made incredible progress. How much progress? General Zenth asked, though he seemed afraid of the answer. Well, Dr. Cho said thoughtfully, the newest ships can fold space in much more complex ways. Multiple simultaneous jumps, temporal displacement, pocket dimension storage. Very advanced stuff. Temporal displacement? Analyst Krill's compound eyes had turned a pale white color. Limited time travel, Dr. Cho explained. Nothing major, just a few hours forward or backward. Useful for avoiding dangerous situations or gathering intelligence. Ambassador Kim looked at Dr. Cho with a slight frown. Perhaps we shouldn't discuss our most advanced capabilities, she suggested gently. Of course, Dr. Cho said. Sorry I get excited about the science sometimes, but the damage was done. The aliens now understood that humanity possessed technologies that seemed impossible. Time travel, space folding, weapons that could crack planets, defenses that could withstand fleet bombardment. Ambassador Kim, Admiral Vexar said slowly, how long has your species possessed these technologies? Oh, we've been developing them gradually over the past few decades, she replied. Humans are very good at building on previous discoveries. Decades, High Researcher Morth repeated faintly. Yes, Ambassador Kim confirmed. We had some help from studying various alien signals and transmissions that reached Earth over the years. What signals? General Zenth demanded. Radio transmissions, subspace communications, navigation beacons, Ambassador Kim said. Your civilizations have been broadcasting into space for centuries. We learned a great deal from listening. The horrible truth began to dawn on the aliens. Humanity had been aware of galactic civilization for decades. They had been listening, learning, and preparing while the aliens had no idea they existed. How long have you known about us? Admiral Vexar asked. The Galactic Council? About 40 years, Ambassador Kim said. We've been monitoring your communications and studying your technologies for quite some time. Monitoring, General Zenth said. You mean spying? We prefer the term passive observation, Ambassador Kim replied diplomatically. We wanted to understand galactic politics and culture before making contact. Dr. Cho spoke up. It's standard procedure for first contact situations. We sent unmanned probes to study various worlds and civilizations. Very advanced sensors, completely undetectable. We learned an enormous amount about galactic society. You've been watching us, Analyst Krill said. For decades. Studying, Ambassador Kim corrected. We needed to understand who we were dealing with before revealing ourselves. And now you have revealed yourselves, Admiral Vexar said. Why now? Ambassador Kim smiled. Because we decided you were ready to meet us. The implication hit the aliens like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't been discovered by galactic civilization. Humanity had revealed itself when it chose to do so. Earth had been the one in control of first contact from the beginning. You could have made contact decades ago, High Researcher Morth said. Yes, Ambassador Kim agreed. But we wanted to be sure it was safe. We needed to understand your military capabilities, your political structures, your cultural values. First contact is too important to Russ, General Zenth leaned forward. What did you conclude about our military capabilities? Ambassador Kim exchanged a glance with. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began at what humans would call 3 a.m. Representatives from every major civilization had been called to discuss the human situation. The great circular chamber buzzed with nervous energy as aliens whispered in dozens of languages. Admiral Vexar stood at the center of the room, his crystal body dim with worry. Around him sat the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and all of them were afraid. Fellow delegates, Admiral Vexar began. We have a problem. The humans, said Chancellor Korath of the Trade Federation. Her tree-like body creaked as she shifted in her seat. What exactly are we dealing with? A species that has been watching us for decades without our knowledge, General Zenth replied. A civilization that possesses technologies we thought were centuries away from development. Impossible, declared High Senator Volm. The floating jellyfish-like being pulsed with agitated light. No species develops that quickly. There must be an explanation. There is, Admiral Vexar said grimly. They're better at this than we are. Scholar Theiss raised several tentacles. But they're so young. Their first space flights were only decades ago. Their first public space flights, High Researcher Morth corrected. We now know they've been traveling between stars for much longer than they initially claimed. The chamber erupted in worried chatter. Beings that had spent centuries believing they were among the most advanced species in the galaxy were suddenly faced with the possibility that they were primitives by comparison. What do they want? Asked Chancellor Korath. They say they want peace, General Zenth replied. They want to join our society as equals. Equals? High Senator Volm's lights flashed angrily. They want us to treat them as equals when they've been spying on us for decades. Would you prefer they treat us as their subjects? Admiral Vexar asked quietly. The chamber fell silent. No one wanted to answer that question. Meanwhile, in their guest quarters, the human delegation was having their own meeting. Ambassador Kim Ji-won sat at a small table with her team, reviewing the day's events. They're scared, Commander Yoon Min-ji observed. Good. Fear makes people careful. It also makes them dangerous, Dr. Kang Ji-ho replied. Scared beings sometimes do stupid things. Not these beings, Ambassador Kim said confidently. They're too intelligent for that. They'll adapt to the new reality because they have to. Captain Nam Hyasu looked up from her reports. I've been monitoring their communications. Some of the smaller factions are talking about forming an alliance against us. Let them talk, Ambassador Kim said. They'll realize soon enough that hostility isn't in their best interests. Dr. Cho Min-sik, who had been quiet since their revelatory meeting, finally spoke. Did we do the right thing? Maybe we should have been more gradual with our revelations. No, Ambassador Kim said firmly. Lies have a way of being discovered at the worst possible moments. Better to be honest from the beginning. The next morning brought an urgent message to the human delegation. Admiral Vexar requested an immediate meeting to discuss important developments in the galactic situation. They gathered in the main conference room, but this time the atmosphere was very different. The aliens who had been condescending and amused just days before now watched the humans with careful respect and barely hidden fear. Ambassador Kim, Admiral Vexar began, the Galactic Council has been discussing your application for membership. I hope the discussions have been productive, Ambassador Kim replied politely. Very much so, Admiral Vexar said. We would like to propose a new arrangement. He activated a holographic display showing the current structure of galactic government. As you can see, our society is organized around the principle of technological and cultural hierarchy. The most advanced species hold positions of leadership. Ambassador Kim nodded. A logical system. We would like to offer humanity a position on the High Council, Admiral Vexar continued. Full membership with voting rights on all major decisions. The offer was stunning. Species typically spent centuries working their way up to High Council membership. The aliens were offering it to humanity immediately. That's very generous, Ambassador Kim said carefully. What would this membership entail? Participation in all major decisions affecting galactic civilization, Chancellor Korath explained. Access to our most advanced technologies and research. Trading rights throughout all member systems. And in return, Ambassador Kim asked, we would hope for access to human technologies, High Researcher Morth said eagerly, particularly your advances in dimensional mechanics and quantum engineering. And your protection, General Zenth added quietly. Ambassador Kim raised an eyebrow. Protection from what? There are hostile forces beyond our borders, General Zenth explained. Species that reject peaceful coexistence. Pirates, warlords, and worse. The galaxy is not always a safe place. I see, Ambassador Kim said. And you believe humanity could help with these threats? We believe humanity could solve these threats, Admiral Vexar said bluntly. Before Ambassador Kim could respond, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors and announcements in multiple languages echoed from speakers. What's happening? Dr. Cho asked. Admiral Vexar's crystal body flashed with urgent colors as he received a communication. Hostile fleet approaching. The Ravager clan is moving toward this sector with 40 battlecruisers. The Ravagers? Chancellor Korath's wooden body creaked with alarm. They haven't been active in this region for years. They must have heard about the humans, General Zenth said grimly. They probably want to attack while we're all gathered here. How long until they arrive? Ambassador Kim asked calmly. 6 hours, Admiral Vexar replied. We're evacuating all non-essential personnel and preparing our defensive fleets. How many ships do you have for defense? Captain Nam Hee-soo asked. 12 battle cruisers and 30 escort vessels, General Zenth replied. Against 40 Ravager ships. The odds are not good. Perhaps we should postpone our negotiations, Ambassador Kim suggested. No, Admiral Vexar said quickly. If the station falls, the diplomatic mission ends anyway. We might as well continue our discussions. But Ambassador Kim noticed something interesting. Despite the crisis, none of the aliens had asked for human help. They were still thinking of the Sol Dawn as a diplomatic vessel, not a potential military asset. "Admiral," she said carefully, "would you like us to assist with the defense?" "That's very kind," Admiral Vexar replied, "but diplomatic vessels aren't equipped for military action. We wouldn't want to risk your safety." Ambassador Kim exchanged glances with Captain Nam Hyesu. "Captain, what do you think? Can we help?" "I suppose we could provide some support," Captain Nam said thoughtfully. "Nothing too dramatic. Maybe handle some of the smaller ships while the main fleet deals with the heavy cruisers." "Are you certain?" General Zenth asked. "The Ravagers are extremely dangerous. Their ships are heavily armed and they don't take prisoners." "We'll be careful," Captain Nam promised. As the alien fleets prepared for battle, the Sol Dawn quietly moved away from the station to a position that gave it a clear view of the approaching enemy. To the aliens watching, it looked like the human ship was trying to escape the combat zone. The Ravager fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 40 massive ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each ship was 3 times the size of the largest alien defense vessel, and they were covered in weapons that glowed with malevolent energy. "This is Warlord Krex of the Ravager clan," came a transmission that was broadcast on all frequencies. "We claim this station and all its contents. Surrender now and we will allow you to die quickly." "This is Admiral Vexar of the Galactic Defense Force," came the reply. "This station is under the protection of the Galactic Council. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Warlord Krex's laughter echoed across space. "You have 12 ships, Admiral. We have 40. What consequences could you possibly threaten us with?" The Ravager fleet began moving toward the station, their weapons charging for the opening barrage. The alien defense ships took position between the attackers and Nexus 7, knowing they were probably about to die but determined to protect the civilians behind them. That's when Captain Nam Hyesu's voice came over the communication channel. "Attention, Ravager fleet," she said politely. "This is Captain Nam Hyesu of the Earth vessel Sol Dawn. You are threatening a diplomatic station under the protection of the Galactic Council. Please withdraw immediately." Warlord Krex's response was predictable. "One small ship dares to threaten the Ravager clan? You will be the first to die, little diplomat. I really wish you hadn't said that." Captain Nam replied with genuine regret. What happened next took exactly 47 seconds and would be studied by military historians for centuries to come. The Sol Dawn, which had appeared to be fleeing, suddenly stopped moving. Space around the ship began to shimmer and fold as dimensional manipulators activated. The ship didn't attack the Ravager fleet. Instead, it moved the entire Ravager fleet, 40 massive battlecruisers, along with the space they occupied, were suddenly transported to a position inside the nearest star. The dimensional fold collapsed, leaving nothing but empty space where the Ravager fleet had been. The silence that followed was absolute. "Sol Dawn to Nexus 7. Captain Nam's voice came over the communication system.